Hi, Karen Wells here. I am the author of Unhooked 7 Steps to Emotional Freedom, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you on the why can't we just get along, change your relating style, change your life, principles on how to have healthy boundaries in your life. I'm excited that you've joined me, and I'm hoping that what I share with you over the next 3 audios is going to be very helpful. And today we're going to be speaking on principle number 1, which is know others. Now, before I get started on the actual content, I want to just tell you a few definitions of boundaries and why we need to have boundaries. Well, a boundary really is it's a limit or that dividing line, or putting the line in the sand. And in our relationships, this is how we want to be treated, and this is how we are to treat others. So we have this set idea in our mind about what these boundaries should look like and where we're not allowing or hoping not allow other people to step over, and we in turn hope not to step over someone else's boundary. Now Jesus said in Luke 6:31 to treat others as you want them to treat you, and he also said in Mark 12 that as well as loving God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, that we are to love our neighbor as ourselves. So it makes sense then if we're to treat others in a certain way and we're to love others, that reciprocally we can love ourselves and expect ourselves to be treated well by other people too. So setting healthy boundaries makes good sense, not only for our own life, but also for the life of the people that we're involved with. There are two primary reasons we need boundaries. We need them for our emotional safety and our physical safety. In our emotional safety, we need to be able to have our own thoughts, our own dreams, our own expectations, all that emotional stuff. We need to be able to say that we have the right to be taken care of and to be treated properly. And of course, for our physical safety, we need to be able to say that you cannot hurt me or harm me in any way. You can't violate my body or become aggressive with me. And also, especially as parents, you need to also know that you have that boundary set up so that your own children will not be impacted by someone else's aggression, anything along that lines. So the reason for boundaries is for our safety so that we will be as healthy as possible. So key principle 1 that I want to talk to you about is know others. And I believe that this is a foundational key because what it can do for you is help you to understand where other people are coming from. Not only will you have a better understanding of their belief systems and why they may act and react to the way they do towards you, it will help you to not personalize so much of their behaviors and words. And I can tell you how freeing that was in my life when I realized that I wasn't responsible for how everybody else reacted or responded. I was only responsible for myself. So as I talk on these 4 relating styles, I just know that as you get a better understanding of the characteristics of these relating styles, you're going to be able to pinpoint some of them to some of the people in your life. And I think it's already going to be freeing for you to be able to say, oh, now I know why that person's doing that. That's not about me. And you don't get fed into their cycle of dysfunction. So this is what I'm hoping is going to be very helpful for you. So let's get started. So this first relating style is the border fence boundary. That's what I call it. That's that passive person. And this is that person that has that little fence around their life and feels like they've got lots of boundaries, but they can't figure out why people seem to be walking on them all the time and causing so much conflict they would feel in their life. It's kind of like that little fence you see around the flowers in the front yard, and certainly trying to say to people, please don't step on my flowers. But if someone wants to step on them, all they got to do is step over that fence. It's really not a very good boundary. And that is kind of how passive people live. They spend a lot of their time feeling like a victim and thinking that nobody listens to what they want to have or say, and that somehow no one seems to care about them. The problem is they don't have a very high, strong, set boundary. So it's easy for people to walk over top of them. These people tend to say I can't a lot in their vocabulary, and they can be very hard to motivate. They can seem like they're kind of depressed and not very interested in making a life change. So that's kind of what you need to know about that passive person. They have a lot of stuff going on in them because they haven't even set a determined boundary in their life. Unfortunately, they think they have, and that's why sometimes they become very angry also, and wondering, why doesn't anybody listen to me? How come no one cares about what I have to say? So just keep that in mind as the first relating style. Now, the second relating style is the brick wall boundary, and that's the aggressive person. And this is that person that's really hard to reach, very hard to get to know, and they fight for you to get to know them, and they often don't want to get into your life. Now, the brick wall person, it's not the type of person you're going to ram the wall down and make them listen to you, because that is not that easy to do. Brick wall people need to have little bricks taken out one at a time for they can feel safe. A lot of people who live in this relating style are very angry people and have been hurt in a great deal, and they don't know how else to deal with their pain but to set up that wall. So these are the type of people that seem really pushy and obnoxious, and wondering how in the world do they have any friends, because they're always criticizing or causing conflict for somebody. So that is who the brick wall person is, and boy, you can sure recognize them. The third relating style is what I call the electric fence boundary. That's that passive aggressive person. And I picked this kind of description because an electric fence is doesn't look very dangerous. You kind of wonder, how does one little wire keep the cattle on one side of the field and not on the other? Well, I know that it works because I was raised on a farm, and one day I decided to go and figure out why this fence was so powerful. Well, I touched it and I discovered that I got a great shock from it. So I understood then how it keeps people, or in that case, how it kept animals on the other side of the fence. That's the same with the passive aggressive person. They seem so easy to get along with on the outside. They seem like they've got it all together. They seem like they really care. They seem like they think about the other person. But boy, if they don't get what they want and you reach out to them, you get zapped. And they then in turn cause you a lot of harm and a lot of grief. The electric fence boundary person tends to be that abuser, the one that you don't really notice because they do it on the sly, they do it in the background. And this is pretty common, I find, with a lot of women who are in abusive relationships and stay in for a long, long time because they can't really figure out what's going on for them either. They're like, this doesn't make sense. This guy's this way this time, and now he's this way. And the people around him don't necessarily see it because he's very, very good at manipulating and deceiving. I say he. Obviously, women can do the same thing, but I tend to work a lot with women. So, if I'm saying the he, know that I also know that women can be very passive aggressive. So that is that type of individual, and usually you will hear them blaming other people, but in a sly way, so that people aren't quite sure what was said and they can't really pinpoint how something changed in that conversation, but they know somehow that something didn't work out for them and the other person managed to rile them up or make them feel guilty, all those kind of things that come with a passive aggressive person. The fourth kind of relating style is the assertive person, or what I call the plexiglass boundary. Now, I really like this description because with plexiglass, you can see out and people can see in, and that's kind of the way it is with an assertive person. That person knows who they are, what they need, what they want, and most other people can see that also from the outside. They know where the line is in the sand for that person, and they don't often try and push it. Now, if they do try and push it, the assertive person knows how to stand up for themselves in a way that's respectful and yet not feel guilty about what they need or what they want. The plexiglass person is the one who you can trust that they'll pretty well be balanced and the same throughout all situations. Okay, not that they don't have some struggles now and then, but you can pretty well trust that this is what you're going to find in this situation or that situation. The plexiglass person also is aware of the needs of other people and thinks beyond themselves most of the time, so that they can have a win-win with their relationships and not always be in conflict. So those are four types of boundaries that people can live out. And so my question to you is, can you see how just knowing these four relating styles can change how you respond to someone? Now, something very important. You cannot change anybody. You can influence people, but you cannot change them. The only person that you can change is yourself. So, now that you know these relating styles, I'm positive that different people popped into your mind as I was teaching this. Now, how will it benefit you to know that this is where they're coming from? maybe not personalize their stuff so much or get trapped in their conversations or their arguments as often, because you realize this is about them not knowing what they want or not knowing in a healthy way how to get it, and or so they just use their common, I'm going to say possibly learned behaviors in order to present themselves to you in a way to try and get what they want. Now, I'm a homework girl, so I do have a little homework for you before you receive your next teaching. What I'd like you to do is evaluate the people in your life that you tend to have struggles with and determine which relating style they are. Then I would like you to ponder on ways that you can respond to them differently now that you have a greater understanding of their behaviors and beliefs and how they relate to others. So, how can you respond differently? You just start with one person, one situation, and I guarantee you're going to see a difference. Now, on top of that, I do want you to consider your own boundaries and relating style, because the key principle number 2 that I'm going to talk about in our next session is all about knowing yourself. So if you have any comments, thoughts, or questions that you would like to share with me, please feel free to send them on to me. Just click the reply button in this email where you received from me this first teaching, or you can email me at chariscounsel@gmail.com, and I really do look forward to hearing from you.